Hello educators, I am Cassandra Copy, a Senior Curriculum Specialist with McGraw-Hill, and we wanted to create a video that shows you the distance and online learning capabilities for Number Worlds. So today I'm going to go through how to assign Number Worlds building blocks, online games, and trajectories. I'm going to show you also how your students and you can access the workbook online. Although this is an ebook, it isn't an interactive book. Students can potentially still complete these activities on a piece of paper at home and send those to you via an online classroom setting. And I'm also going to take a look at how to assign any tests. I know that most likely we won't be doing assessments right now, but I wanted to make sure that you had that capability. So let's get started with assigning building blocks games. Now, the first thing you're going to want to do is make sure that you have all of your students in the correct groups and assigned to the correct curriculum level. So I'm on my Number Worlds Teacher Edition right now. We're going to go to Manage and Assign. From there, I'm going to select the class that I'm looking at here. So I have 2 sample students in my class. And when I look at this screen, the first thing that I want to take a look at is this right here. So it says students and groups. Let's make sure that our students are actually in the group of the level of the curriculum. So you can see that mine are actually in level E right here. You can go to groups to assign them to that level. Okay, so I would edit that group and assign, or you can do it from that first screen as well. You can go back here and edit which group they're in. Just make sure that it says level of the curriculum that those students are in. So I'm in level E, which is that 3rd grade content. All right, now I'm going to go to the building blocks assignment area. And actually you can assign the building blocks learning trajectories to all of your class. So what that will do is it'll allow students to move at their own pace throughout the games that are part of the learning trajectory for that level of the curriculum. To do that, we're going to click on Edit Class. And then you can see all the way down here it says Building Block Settings. First, make sure the grade level is the level of the curriculum. So again, I'm on level E, which is 3rd grade level content. And then when I go down here to Building Blocks, I'm also going to select the grade level of the curriculum, not the physical grade level of the students. So grade level 3. And then you can select a starting point, or you can actually just leave this blank and have them start at the beginning of the learning trajectories for grade level 3. And a couple other options here. Free Explorer are some various activities that they do that are a little bit more free, I guess you could say, for the students. They have the opportunity to kind of work with some different things. It's not as directed as the other games. You can turn that off if you don't want students to access that. Then you can also change the level of the drills and the language for the class. Now, if you want to do that by student, you would put those students that you wanted the language of instruction in a different class. Okay, so now when I do that, I'm going to click Save. That's assigning that building blocks trajectory of games to the students. So when they log in and go and click on building blocks, now they can access multiple games. And again, that's adaptive. So they're going to access those as they complete them and get them correct. Now let's take a look at how you can assign a single building blocks activity. So let's say that you're going to continue instruction via video links or web access. You can definitely do that. You can be creating some videos of the instruction for the activity cards that your students are working on. All of those are accessible in resources. So as the educator, if you don't have all of the materials with you, please just go to your resources tab. You can access everything right here. So for example, I'm in level E. Here are all of the activity cards and the instruction that I may need. So feel free to use that, maybe create a video for your students to watch, and then they could complete the workbook activities and the building blocks activity. So if a building blocks activity is linked to that lesson, you can assign that really easily right here in resources as well. I think you'll learn that resources is my favorite tab. So if you just click on building blocks activity, you can search for the name of that activity. I think comic book shop is one of them. I'm just going to go ahead and search for that one. Or you can search in all of those activities. Here's the one I'm looking for right here. If I want to just assign this singular activity to my students, I have a couple options. When you click on this wheel right here and the down arrow, you'll see assign this resource or assign this activity. Assigning the resource assigns it as an assignment. So they're going to see that as an assignment that they need to complete that is outside of the building blocks link on their student page. I prefer this method because the student sees that they need to do that immediately, and then they can go back into their building blocks learning trajectories. So if I click on assign this resource, I can just create the name of that, comic book shop, and I'll just say, please complete this activity. Okay. I can choose on the bottom to whom I'm assigning. I'm just going to assign that to all of my students, and you can select the start and end date here as well. And then I'll click assign. When I do that, that automatically puts that as an assignment on the student's page. Okay, and then it asks me if I want to go back, make a new assignment, etc. So I'm just going to say go back. You can see that now I have this assignment right here that's assigned to these students. So that's assigning a singular building blocks activity that may be outside of your learning trajectories. The building blocks activities are a great way for our students to continue learning at home, obviously if they have access to the internet and to a device. A couple of other things that you could have your students completing while they're at home. If students do have their workbooks with them, their physical workbooks, as I mentioned earlier, you could be creating a video of that activity and then have the students complete those workbook pages. There is the option to provide the workbook to your students in an ebook. Now this is not highly interactive, and the students don't have a way of submitting it particularly to you, but they could access the activity through the ebook and then complete that on a separate piece of paper and submit that to you, or in a Google document or something like that. So let me show you how to do that. You're going to go to resources, again my favorite tab. And right here you'll see the student workbooks. And I'm going to go to level E, where my students are. Okay, and note that there are various workbooks, so make sure you choose the correct one. And from here, you can assign this as a resource, just like we did with our building blocks activity. Now, this is assigning this as an ebook to the students. So the students are going to have access to every single page. So you're going to want to be a little bit more specific as to what you would like them to complete. I don't have one off the top of my head, but I'm just going to call this workbook assignment page 13. Okay, so I would say please complete this on a separate piece of paper, and maybe they can take a picture or a screenshot and submit. And submit via Google Classroom. Okay, so that's the assignment. Again, I can select the students. I'm going to assign this to all. And then that will push the ebook to my students. All right, so now when I'm in my assignments, note that it took me back there already. I'm in Manage and Assign under the assignment tracker. You can see that I've assigned those two things to my students. The last component that I want to review with you is assigning online assessments. Now, again, this is most likely not something that you will be assigning, but potentially you could get through a week's worth of instruction through videos online, and maybe we want to see how our students are doing. Those online assessments are up here. They're also in the assessment tab down here, whichever one you choose to do. That's going to open up a separate link here, and let me make sure that that's in our screen. And once we're here, this is fairly straightforward. I want you to go up to the upper right-hand corner. You're going to select Classes and Assignments. that will load all of your classes over here. From here, it's a drag and drop. So I'm going to click and drag that class over to this area. You'll notice that there are no assignments of the online assessments. Remember, this is kind of a separate place here. And I'm going to go over to the left. I can click the plus arrow over here, and then I'm going to see all of the building blocks tests. So let's do the level E weekly test. Let's say we've completed week 1. Again, I'm going to open up, make sure I get to that specific thing, that component here. I'm going to drag and drop, and then it will ask you to select some various things. So you can choose which students are part of this and which are not. You can go through and select the date range, etc. All of those components are available for you as you kind of go through all of these, and then finish, and then that will be assigned to your students. Okay, so we have gone through assigning building blocks games as a trajectory. We've gone through assigning them singularly. We've also gone through assigning the workbook as an ebook to the students and assigning online assessments. I am now on a student page and I want to show you what they would access. Now this student sample has a few various things assigned. They have a lot of assignments here, but you can see those ones that we just did, the workbook assignment, the comic book game, and that weekly test. So they'll see all of those assignments here. For example, the comic book game, the one that I assigned to them, they'll see that here. They click on that, and then the resource is right here for them to complete. Okay, so that's how they would access that component. Same thing with the workbook. Now I want to show you what this looks like. We spoke about that this is not highly interactive. They would launch this asset, so the ebook, and it's going to take just a minute here. This is kind of a large asset, and then they would go to the page that you asked them to complete. Okay, so I just randomly put in page 13. Hopefully that is an actual assignment. Yes, it is. So you can see here that this isn't a highly interactive component where they can complete this and then submit it to you, but they could definitely work on this activity, write the answers on a Google Doc or on a separate piece of paper, upload it to your Google Classroom. They do have some interactive capabilities, so they can use a pen here. Maybe they're circling things or they're writing in, answers. It's not super easy to use, so I just want to be very upfront about that the best way is maybe for them to complete this on a separate piece of paper, and then for them to submit this to you. But the good news is that they do have access. All right, educators, so we have looked at assigning building blocks games and trajectories, assigning the workbook, and also assigning assessments, and kind of what that looks like on your student side. The very last thing I'd like to show you is where we can get the data from those components that we've assigned in the building blocks and the assessments. And just as you would think, we would go to the reports section. And from there, again, make sure you're looking at the correct class. For the building blocks games, there are 2 areas that are going to show you the scores for the students based on the topic and trajectory. So that's the class by topic and the class by trajectory report. So if I go ahead and click on that class by topic, I actually went in and completed the kitchen counter assignment under this student, and we can see that I got 100%. Ooh, congratulations to me on that one. So that was a multiplication assignment, and so that score is right there for you. You could also look under trajectory. And when you look under trajectory, kind of the same information, but just listed a little bit differently here. So multiplying and dividing that learning trajectory, I see my assignment score right there. So that is where you will get the data from building blocks. If you have other assessments that you did, you can go to the reports section and look at the formal assessment reports or class assessment standards. Either of those are going to give you the results from those assignments. I hope this video has been helpful to you so that you are able to provide that distance and online learning for your students. If you have further questions about Number Worlds, please feel free to get in contact with us. We actually have a curriculum specialist email that is ask-a help-ssgconsultant@mheducation.com, and we'd be happy to answer any questions about your Number World curriculum. Thank you for joining me today, and good luck out there.